Hey everyone, welcome to the tribe. For today, I would like to talk about martial arts and why I think a lot of women would benefit from being able to defend themselves. Today, I'm with Kylie. I think Kylie is a very special person because she's done quite a lot in her life, I think. She's written her book, Woman Lover,
Mother lover, woman warrior.
Mother Lover, Woman Warrior. She has her fourth dam in nearly her fourth dam, right?
Yeah, third down.
In Kyokushin
Mm-hmm.
karate. And let me just clarify what that means. So you have the black belt, and a dam is added. So if you're about to get the fourth dam, it means you're really good at what you do. She has done Muay Thai. She does some jiu-jitsu here and there. She has her own dojo. Has 3 kids, and yeah, I would like to introduce her for so that women feel more inclined to maybe get onto martial arts themselves. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. You said everything about me already.
Well, tell me about how you started. I mean, I always think that it's not about what you know, but it's how you got there. Like, how did you start as a person?
In martial arts,
Just in general.
I tried, as I was growing up, I tried calisthenics was the first sort of thing or first regimented, organized activity that I did was calisthenics. Um, I didn't last very long in that um, for a myriad of reasons, but I did enjoy it when I first did it. But I don't think all the makeup and all that kind of stuff was really me. Um, and I guess I didn't really have the push from my family as well when I was younger, so I didn't really stick at that too much. I then moved on to jazz ballet.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did some jazz ballet, and then I was actually going to be signed up at this really full-on dance studio at one point
Yeah.
to really focus on dancing. It was like really strict. It had a uniform, all this kind of stuff. I was really excited.
Oh, the pink tutus.
No, not Pink Tutus. No,
Okay,
this was
okay.
like modern dance. And then it was a lot of money, and my mother wasn't that well off at that point. So, but she saved up the money and she involved me in this expensive dance studio. I did one class and I felt so intimidated. And then she went on holidays to Queensland, and it was my grandmother's job to take me. But I had my grandmother twisted around my little finger, and I didn't want to go because I felt really intimidated. I felt insecure and all that kind of stuff. So I managed to not let her take me to those classes. And then when Mum come back, I got in big trouble. But I never I never got made to go to those classes again, which is probably a shame because I think if I had been pushed, I probably would have continued down that avenue. But I didn't really get the push, and it
So what would
wasn't.
have given you that if you had?
I think it needed to come from my family.
But let's say you would have chased that. Like, what it would have brought it to you?
Oh, look, I really don't know. It's easy to say. It's easy to speculate now what would have happened. But, maybe I would have pursued it further. Maybe I would have done something with it. Maybe I would have continued dancing.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's not what happened.
No, you do a different kind of dancing.
Yeah, different
One
kind
that
of
involves
dancing.
kicking and punching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, I didn't do anything again. I wasn't very physical. I used to do a lot of cross-country running when I was at primary school. But when I got to high school, again, I was really insecure about my body. I didn't consider myself as strong or sporty, and I kind of gave up everything. I didn't like wearing this PE uniform. Yeah, I just was insecure, really. And so, unfortunately, I dropped a lot of that PE. I wasn't active at all through high school until I signed up to jazz ballet again with my best friend at the time, Amy.
Yeah.
And we did some jazz ballet for like a year in year 8, I think. And that was kind of a bit more fun. I enjoyed that. We went together, and I really enjoyed that. But then again, I dropped that as well.
So why did you drop it?
I don't even know why. I think it was just an issue for me to get there because I lived quite a long way away.
Yeah.
Getting there was an issue, and I think my parents just didn't. Well, my mum didn't drive, so it was all up to my dad.
Yeah.
And I think that was again just part of the issue.
Took a lot of effort. Didn't get as much out of it as you wanted to. Maybe.
I probably did get as much out of it, but anyway, I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't cool in high school. I don't even know. But then I didn't do anything until I was 19.
Yeah.
And I had my own license, and so I could take myself, and I didn't rely on anyone else anymore. And it was kind of all up to me. And I had the true story is I could lie, but the true story, because it's in my book, is that
which we were gonna check.
So I have to say the true story is that I broke up with my boyfriend after like a 5-year relationship, and I realized that I'd given everything up. My friends, my activities, I wasn't doing anything. I had nothing outside of him, really.
Yeah.
And so he used to do Zendukai, and I thought, I'm going to stick it up him. I'm going to go.
Zendukai is martial arts.
Yeah, it's a Bob Jones thing. It's a little bit Muay Thai, a little bit karate. It's a little bit of all.
Yeah.
It was very, very popular at one point.
Yeah.
It was the thing everybody did. They even had these little gold medallions I think it was called the Bushido that they wore on their neck, which they got awarded if they were black belt. There was a silver, gold, and a bronze one, I think. Anyway, it was very, very popular. He had done that, and I thought, I'm going to show him I'm going to go and do kickboxing. So I don't know why I thought it would matter.
So that's the reason why you got into martial arts in the first place?
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Yep. So I I signed up. Well, I wanted to do kickboxing.
Yeah.
But the night that I went down to the dojo, which again was a long way away. It was a 45-minute drive from my house, but I looked through the yellow pages. You probably don't even know what that is. But
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to navigate it, but...
So I scoured through that and found what looked like the best ad for the best dojo and martial arts place, and I drove there. So it was over in Eltham, which is where I train now. And it was called Alpha Martial Arts Academy. And so I went down there, and they said you could have a gold pass, and for a week you could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
There they had kickboxing, aikido, and kyokushin karate.
Yeah.
And my idea was to do the karate class, but they didn't have the timetable in the yellow pages then, and I probably should have just phoned up, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I just drove
Yeah.
there when I'm going this night. Boom, got in my car and drove myself there.
Yeah.
And I sat in the car park for a while trying to urge myself to go in because I was by myself. I was 19-year-old. I was tiny. I probably weighed like 49 kilos.
Yeah.
And so I was very small.
Going to a big martial art place.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Anyway, I made myself walk in, and I walked in and I'm like, hi, I'm here to try the karate class. And they're like, oh, sorry, there's no karate on tonight. And I was just like, devastated. And so...
At least you took the first step. I mean, that's something.
No, they said it was the other way around. Sorry, it's the other way around.
No, that's all right.
Getting myself confused.
That's all right.
I went to do the kickboxing, and they're like, there's no kickboxing on tonight, it's karate.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay. Well, I'm here, so I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I had taken all that courage to walk in the door. I wasn't about to go home.
Fair enough.
So I went into the karate class, and thank goodness, because I loved it.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be that the head instructor was down that night. He wasn't normally there every night, but this particular night he was there. And so from that first class, I fell in love with it, and it was all I wanted to do after that.
Why did you fall in love with it? What's the thing about karate that touches you so much?
I don't even know, but I think it's a combination of a couple of things. And the first thing was I felt great after. Like I just felt I was on a high.
Yeah.
And I think that came from the physical exertion. It was all brand new. But the other two things, the big things I think were that I was always attracted to different cultures and different ways of that they're shown through behaviors and stuff like that. And the fact that there was the bowing and the different language and the respect and the hierarchy and all that kind of stuff, I was really attracted to that. But also because it felt like this was something that I will be able to do. It felt possible.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And there was just such a long road in front of me, but it just, the way that it was taught, the structure, you stand in a line with the higher ranks at the front and you're down the back, and you can see this progression.
Yeah, you know where to go.
And so you know that it doesn't matter, and you're starting at the back, but it doesn't matter, and you can see this road ahead of you, and you know you're going to be guided, and you know you're going to be instructed, and that I just knew that it was possible, even though I couldn't do it now. And so I was really excited, and yeah.
And, a big question I want to ask is, what was it like for you to be able to defend yourself, be able to actually fight? Did that do anything for you in your life? Did you notice anything at all?
It's not until probably much later that I was consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
But I think subconsciously this is going to sound like a stupid story, but it does give you this sense of perseverance. In Kyokushin we say also all the time, which means to persevere under pressure, or to never give up. It's that it comes from a longer phrase that means to never give up, or perseverance under pressure.
Yeah.
And so for me, like when I had my first child, I remember being in labor, and like I said, it's going to sound ridiculous, but I was just like, no, it's okay. I've done an 8-hour grading. This is fine. I'm about here now.
Yeah.
And so in my head, I had this whole thing where I'm like likening the process to an arduous grading. Childbirth seemed okay. It seemed doable because I'd been through this long paper. I know it's not the same thing, but that's just how my mind works.
That, but I can see what you're saying.
Even to the point where I remember once going for a bike ride. I'm a terrible bike rider, and I don't do it, so I found it really difficult. I hadn't been doing karate for very long, maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
And I remember going on this bike ride, and it was challenging. It was getting to the point where I just wanted to stop, and I just wanted to walk. And so I started counting ich, ni, san, shi as I pedaled.
Yeah.
And honestly, that helped. It was just like, I just have to do one more. I just have to do one more. I just have to do one more.
So the fact that it was given to you during karate is something you utilize throughout your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. That not giving up, that spirit that it doesn't matter if you lose. There's a saying, a famous Japanese proverb, which I have actually tattooed on my leg, which says 7 times down, 8 times up. And kind of, I think that we embody that in martial arts. It doesn't matter how many times you get kicked down or fall over or whatever, as long as you get up one more time.
Let's just go back to what you just said, the grueling 8-hour grading.
Mm-hmm.
How terrible that was. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because people might skimp over it and not realize how hard that might be.
All the gradings are hard. Even as a white belt, the first one's about 4.5 hours.
Constant training.
I mean, you have a break for drink and whatever, but it's constant training. You go through all the basics, you walk up and down, you display your katas, you do everything, and the last part of it is the fighting, the kumite.
Yeah.
Your first grading, there's 6 fights. Your next grading, there's 8, and then it's 10, and then
10 fights, no break in between. People just
1.5 minutes each round, and so you just rotate around whoever's at the grading.
Yeah.
And so the gradings progressively get longer as you need to know more. And you need to be pushed more. So by the time you do your shorter grading, your black belt grading, it's with our style anyway. Not all dojos are the same, but they're all difficult and they're all long gradings. It's about an 8. I think it was closer to 9 hours. You do get a break in those ones to have something to eat. But
I want you to fall over.
Yeah, and then the last grading is 40 rounds of full contact sparring.
40 rounds of full contact sparring.
Mm-hmm. So they're 1.5 rounds each. So what's that, about 60 minutes, so an hour of
And the next
fighting.
day? How did you feel the next day?
I couldn't sit down on the toilet. Look, those gradings are really tough, and they're, we ask a lot of people during those. You have board breaking, as well as all the other stuff that you need to do, obviously all the physical stuff, all the basics. The kumite is the hard part though, but it's also the most fun part, because you're absolutely wrecked. You've probably been grading for 7 hours already, and then comes the kumite. And at the black belt grading, it's an honor, and it sounds sadistic, but it sounds sadistic to those that don't partake in it. But when you partake in it, it's honor. It's all the black belts, all the freshies come in. So basically, when it comes to the fighting, all the black belts come in that haven't been participating in the grading that day. They all line up. They've all got nice, beautiful, fresh, crisp, white, unsweaty gis, and they make a line. And then you just get all the people who are grading just get lined up, and the freshies come in.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine what that means. We're exhausted, they're fresh.
Yeah.
And they're just here to belt us because they had to get belted. And so it's just the rite of passage, right?
Yeah.
And, they hit you hard. They look after you too. Don't get me wrong. It's not them trying to hurt us. Well, no, they're trying to hurt us in the pushing us kind of way.
Yeah, making you better instead of breaking you down.
But I remember seeing, like, before my ultimate wish is that more women get involved in martial arts or some kind of physical activity that challenges them and pushes them out of their comfort zone, because there's gold there, right? But the fact about, I mean, anything is great. In my book, I write about it, about being passionate, finding purpose, but being physically strong and capable, because physical strong capabilities manifest in mentally strong and emotionally strong capabilities as well. So I really want to encourage more women to do that, to discover their strength. And if it's not martial arts, then that's okay. But the benefit of martial arts above and beyond just physical training is that ability to defend themselves in a physical confrontational situation. And I think that that's really important. I think it's important to give it to our young girls, and it's important for women to have it as well. So yeah, just to get involved, to take control of their own power, I guess. That's my wish. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I continue to teach. And
That's a very strong message. I like it. So, if anyone wants to find you online, maybe buy your book or follow your page, where would they go to?
On Facebook, motherloverwomanwarrior.com, and the same name for my webpage for the book.
Your dojo. What was your dojo called again?
Musubi Dojo, MUSUBI, or we're also known as Altham Martial Arts Academy, ELTHAM, not Alpha. It gets confused a lot of the time. Thanks for having me on, and best of luck with the podcast and the movement, because I think it's a really cool movement.
And I think the message is very clear. So for everybody who is still listening, still here, thank you, and we'll see you soon. Yep, continue.
So I remember watching this grading before I'd graded, and there was this young guy. He was probably about 18 years old, fit, strong, really, really, what do you call it, proficient martial artist. And I remember watching him as he graded for his black belt, and he got kicked, and he just fell up against the wall, and he basically slid down. And then I watched the other black belt just grab him by the lapels,
oh my God,
pull him back up, and just kick him again. And I'm like, oh! So that was definitely in the back of my mind as I was prepping for my black belt grading. And like I said, it sounds awful. And when I say he got kicked and he slid down the wall, it didn't take much at that point. It wasn't like he was kicked so hard he fell over. It's just that you're tired and you're exhausted. And
But would you say that being able to live through that, like things in life might seem a little bit easier, or you just compare it to childbirth, which is quite severe on its own, but the fact that you've lived through that made it life easier?
Yeah, absolutely. When life gets tough, get tougher. Just keeps you going. In the back of your mind, that you've been through hard times, and it's okay. You can keep going, even when you're tired, and even when it hurts, and you can keep going. Definitely.
Tell me about your own dojo. How did that come to pass? It's quite a big undertaking on its own.
I didn't always want it. I shouldn't say that. But once I'd been training for long enough, I had this burning desire to teach. And I never thought that when I started. It wasn't ever in my intent. It was never my intent to open a dojo and teach. But as I progressed through it, and I loved it so much, and it became to the point where I was skipping university tutorials because I just wanted to go to training. So I sort of gave up on uni and a little bit, which I don't know if that was the best decision, but hey, I am where I am today because of the decisions I made. But I loved it so much, and then I would watch people teach, and I would be, in my head, I'd be getting frustrated. I'm like, they're not explaining it properly. So I'd start putting my hand up. I knew all the answers. I knew the stuff. I was probably a brown belt at this point.
Yeah.
So probably about 4 years in. And I'd put my hand up to ask questions, not because I wanted to know the answer, but because I thought they hadn't adequately explained it enough for the people down the back. That's when I knew I wanted to teach. And then a position became available to teach a beginner's class. I started teaching, and about 2 weeks later, I went to the nationals and competed, and I got my forearm broken by blocking a kick.
Yeah.
My forearm got broken, and then that was painful. I had to nurse it all the way back to Melbourne before I had it looked at.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I was teaching with a cast for the first few weeks, or 6 weeks or something, before the cast got taken off.
Yeah.
So that was the start of my teaching career. But I loved it. I had a little book I used to write in on the train on the way home, because back then I was teaching in the city and living out in Eltham. So I was catching the train home and writing in my little notebook, which I still have today, about the classes that I did. And I was just really excited about teaching. And then that was only teaching, in my instructor's academy at that point. And then I actually applied for a job overseas in Japan. I was going to go to Japan and teach English. That was what I wanted to do. And then my instructor came to me one day and said, "Are you really going to leave?" And I said, "Yes, just got to organize my visa. I'm going." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to offer you this position. Do you want it? Do you want to take this job?"
Wow, what a life choice.
And in my mind, it was a romantic idea.
Yeah.
Owning my own dojo, I thought I was going to be like Mr. Miyagi and have this beautiful Japanese garden, and it was gonna be beautiful, and I was just gonna do what I loved every day, and it was gonna be amazing. And like I said, that's a romantic idea.
Yeah.
I took the opportunity though. I started teaching for him full time in the city, and I started managing the Eltham Martial Arts Academy myself.
Yeah.
So that was mine.
How did they take it? I mean, you came there as a black belt, as a woman. How did they take it?
The fact that I was a woman had nothing to do with the way they took it. I don't feel that ever was an issue.
I'm happy with that. That's good.
I've never felt like that was an issue.
Yeah.
But the problem with it was, when I first started teaching at the Eltham Dojo, was that there were others who were senior to me that probably should have been teaching, but they couldn't in that time take the responsibility of managing and doing all the classes. So that was given to me, and that put a few noses at a joint.
Basically, just the ego coming up.
It's not just ego, because it is part of the culture and part of the hierarchy.
Yeah, like the one with the highest dam we're supposed to be teaching.
So it's not just ego, although I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
But it was more than that. It was more. Again, I'll say the phrase rite of passage, because it wasn't traditionally done to have a lower rank.
Should have gone through a certain amount of pain in order to be at the top.
Yeah. But they couldn't take the position. So wherever possible, if they were there, I'd hand the class to them and just take on the management role. But anyway, that ended up that most of them left. And so I was left to teach anyhow. And it was great. And I sucked. I was a terrible instructor, I'm sure, for the first part of it. I probably wasn't terrible. I was passionate. So...
Which is a good start.
So I gave everything, but it was such a learning process, and you will never learn as much as you will by teaching. You think you know everything, and that's why you're a teacher.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that feel.
There's questions that I wasn't prepared for, and there was, just things that I thought would work that didn't work, and management of different personalities and abilities and all that within the class, and that's all a big part of it. And you don't know how much you don't know until people start asking you those difficult questions. So teaching was a huge learning curve. And anyway, there was a fire in that dojo, so it wasn't mine then. It was just I was managing it for somebody else, my instructor.
Yeah.
And then there was a fire, and as we were cleaning up the walls and trying to wipe down everything to move back in, my instructor said, "Listen, I don't think I'm going to do this. I don't think it's viable. I think I'm just going to close. Do you want it?"
Wow.
And I said, "Yes."
Can you imagine how you felt back then, huh?
Yes, I want it.
Romantic idea would have just been given to you on a platter?
Sort of. I wasn't given anything other than the dojo name and some students that might hang around.
Yeah.
So I said, yes, I want it. I'm going to open up. So I had to find a new venue. I couldn't stay in that venue because I just couldn't afford it. I didn't have anything put behind me. So I found a primary school hall not so far away, and we started there with nothing, just a wooden floor, an enthusiastic instructor with big plans, and
still got big plans.
Still got big plans, an existing student base. So we built up. I taught at that primary school for 7 years. We slowly grew. We got more equipment. We got some mats through a fundraiser. Everybody ran laps around an oval to make money for that. We had the mats on the floor. I remember setting them up and putting them away every night.
Yeah.
Loading the car. Heavily pregnant, doing that as well, and still teaching, and then
Pregnant of your second.
first.
First.
And then, and about a year or so after that, I think, after Tyler was born, I had an opportunity to look around and say, look, I need to take this to the next level. I need a full-time place. I'm so sick of packing the car every night, and I want to be able to have the place for myself. I wanted to be able to run more sessions, and I couldn't hire the hall more. So anyway, needless to say, I opened up at a factory not shortly after that, and we were there for another 8 years before I moved to the present day location. We've been there for 3, so much bigger premises now.
Wow, that's quite a story you got there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can you tell me about your fighting career? How did that go? Because you've had a lot of fights.
I've had a lot of fights. I think it was cut short by, the children.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think I don't really think I was finished with my fighting. I feel like I was just getting good, just getting to my prime before I had my first child, and then I went back again and fought after I had her. First fight back after that was too early. I wasn't physically prepared for that, and I lost. But I lost that fight, and tried to get back into it again. And just as I was training to fight again, I got pregnant with the second. So every time I was training to fight, I just seemed to get pregnant. I'm not sure if there's a link there, so be careful. But and then so I had my second, went back to teaching. I had the third child, and I fought again after having my third. Went back in. It was Kyokushin then. Went back and did another karate fight. And I was a bit worried. I didn't know whether I'd still have the fire. But it was good. Did that, and then I haven't really done too much fighting since then. I did a lot. I remember when I first wanted to fight, I asked my instructor, can I do the full contact? Because we have non-contact as well in karate, which some people don't really like. I like it because I think it teaches speed. And it's head punches in karate. I don't know if you know, in our style of karate, we don't do head punches because we fight bare fist. We fight with no padding. So the head punches aren't allowed because you can imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, of course.
But we can kick to the head. You can knock out. So
not punching to the head, but kicking to the head is allowed.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's a lot harder to kick someone to the head. The chances of it happening. And usually once you kick to the head, the fight's over. Where you know with punching, being punched in the face bare fist will just open up faces and there'll just be blood everywhere.
Brain trauma.
Yeah, continual being punched in the face with no gloves is not ideal. So, it's taken away. But so I had been doing the non-contact, and I was a green belt then, and I wanted to fight full contact. I just felt like it was our style, and that's what you should do. And so I approached my instructor at the time, my sensei, and said, "Listen, I want to do the full contact." And he kind of smirked a little bit, and then he said, My young girl, I don't think you're ready." He said, I don't think you're ready, and there's no division for you because you're too small. And
there was never something you should tell you.
Well, there was no division for me, so I had to fight higher.
Yeah.
I think I told you before, I was only like about 49 kilos, and I think back then the lightweight division was under 65. So
49 against 64 is considerable.
Yeah. So it makes a big difference. I did end up getting some fights. Some tournaments, there were divisions where they had like under 57 kilos. Sometimes, if we were lucky, if it was a big tournament, or if it was a one match. So if it was like, they just organized fighters to fight each other for one match, then I got matched up a lot more closely. But often I found myself fighting much bigger girls. So that was a real challenge for me. But I did okay. I've come away with some good results and had a reasonable. Well, I don't even know if you'll call it a career, but I had a good stint in the fight world. We'll see.
So we've already mentioned a lot of things you've done throughout your life, but there's one thing I want to talk about as well. Your book, or your books even. Which one do you want to talk about first? Your child's book or...
No, we'll talk about the other one first.
Okay, tell me. Mother, Lover, Woman, Warrior. That's the one.
Yeah.
So, how did it came to be, and what's the message you want to share with the world?
Well, it came to be because I was teaching a lot of women clients, personal training wise. I teach women clients in my karate class. Strangely enough, I have more men than women.
Yeah.
I would have thought, being a female instructor, that I would have had a lot more female clientele.
What do you think that is?
Whether that's just the nature of the sport and who wants to be involved, or whether it's because I actually think that women like training with male instructors, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Whether that's got something to do with it, I don't know. I don't know. But it was a surprise to me. But anyway, also with the clients that I did have, I felt like I was having a lot of the same conversations. All the information that I was giving them was similar. And not that I didn't like repeating myself, but I just felt like, hey, there's something here.
There's a pattern.
There's a pattern. There's something here that people want to know or need to hear. And so I originally, my idea was I was going to create a workbook for my clients. It was going to be a workbook and small-ish and just have some of the basic stuff in there. And I found that when I spoke to them in facts, it wasn't as good as when I related my own personal story. They had more weight, or they listened more, or they heard more.
They knew where you were coming from. They could relate better. Yeah.
So when I told them my personal stories, it just felt like it had more impact. And so the idea became a book title, actually, before anything. I had the book title in my head many months before I wrote the book. And so the idea grew because I just thought, well, as a woman, we have all these roles in our lives we need to play. We need to be a mother, if that's where we are in our life. And, we have to be a lover. We need a partner. We need to be that person too. That's one role that we have to play. There are certain things expected of us as women. And then I like the fact that we can be warriors too and strong. And that definitely came from the martial arts side. Without my martial arts, there'd be no warrior chapter in that book. So
it make you very actionable. Clearly from everything you've done in your life, it shows that you have the power of action, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But so I was about to turn 40 at that time, and I got given not a lot of money. I got given some money by all my students and friends. They all put together. I had a party, dress-up party. And it happened to be the 21st year of that I was involved in martial arts.
Yeah.
That particular year. So I advertised it as my 21st birthday. My 21st party, I should say. Not my 21st birthday. My 21st party.
Yeah.
So at my 21st party, they helped put together some cash. And I thought, what am I going to do with this cash?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, I've got this book idea. Maybe I should invest this money and do something real with it. So I started looking around. And my idea was I was going to take myself away on a weekend holiday near the beach, near the ocean. I was going to get great accommodation, and I was going to write this book. So I started looking online for accommodation, and I just went, you know what, I'm going to spend all this money on accommodation, and I don't know how to write a book. So I kind of wiped that idea, but I was on social media, and I scrolled through, and I saw this advertisement for something called the 48-Hour Author, and I went, whoa, that's kind of, what do you call it? I don't know.
A manifestation.
Well, either a manifestation or a coincidence, but whatever it is, I thought, whoa, I can't overlook that. That's too strong a message.
Yeah.
And so I need to take it. So I clicked on the link and I looked, and it was an offer for a one-day event to go and look and find out about it. I was reluctant to give out my credit card details online at that point. So I messaged the lady. It turns out she was local. So I went to that and never looked back. The book was difficult because I had to find this money that I didn't have. And I was scared, actually. I was really afraid that it wouldn't eventuate, and even if it did, it wouldn't be good, and nobody would want to read it. So,
which are real thoughts, of course, if you still did it.
Of course, because I wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the book is The book is published, and the funny thing is, the book, the lady who runs the program says that the book is, you don't make money off books. The books aren't, but it's the person you become writing the book.
Yeah.
It's important, and I believe that 100%, because after I wrote the book, my dojo, which was struggling at the time, suddenly started to pick up. Things started to change.
Yeah, you walked the road. You weren't thinking about where you were going. As you walked the road, and via doing that, you learned.
Yeah, I think it is that, but it's also some level of confidence within yourself and belief that come from achieving something that you thought that you couldn't do, and you did.
Yeah,
So
it
with that,
made you more whole, made you more stronger.
Yeah,
mentally.
More mentally stronger. Yeah. And so that was good. I'm glad I did it.
Okay, so let's say someone is listening right now, thinks, "Hey, that's interesting. Why would someone want to read your book? What do they get out of it?"
My book is my book. The feedback that I've gotten, because it got into the hands of a lot of people in my martial arts community. Lots of my students have read it. Lots of people that I know have read it. It's been shipped overseas a little bit as well through people that I know through the community, but mostly online. I don't know them in person.
Yeah.
I had a book launch. It was in the local bookshop for a bit, so it has gotten into some hands that I don't know, but majority of the people I've heard back from, so that's been good. Even men, which I thought wouldn't be interested in my book, the men in the martial arts have read it and said that it was great because it gave them some insight into their female students, which has been really good. And I think what it is it's, I don't know, I guess it's a personal account from a mother, someone that they can relate to, who's still very active.
Yeah. That it's possible to be all those things.
It's possible to be all those things. You can't do them all perfectly, but you can do them all.
Yeah. At least you're trying.
Well, the tagline of my book is embracing perfect imperfection. So, like you can't give 100% across all those areas all the time, but you can give what you can give to each and still obtain a reasonable result. The book is an easy read, which I'm not trying to belittle the book. It's not complicated. And I think what I found was, as I was going through my journey and I'd read a lot of books or I'd been to seminars and self-help workshops and stuff like that, was the information was difficult to implement. Yeah. So you get this big book, you're already having problems, right? You're already having problems. If you weren't, well, not having problems, but you already had something in your life that you wanted to rectify. And so you get this big book and it seems like it's a challenge just to read it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want mine to be like that, because I felt like the people that needed it to be actionable and they needed it to be non-complicated.
Yeah.
And so my book is very simple, I think. It's easy to read. It's not a very long book. It's not daunting. It's very relatable. But there are actionable things in there and stuff that I think people can pick up very easily and take away and use.
Good. And well, what I hear from you, you're very actionable. So after having talked about your book, can you tell me about your future plans? What's on the plan for now? Where do you want to go?
Look, I really just, the COVID-19 thing has been a big issue. It has had a big impact on the business.
Yeah.
It was forced to close. We were one of the first businesses to be forced to close. During that time, I've had to, had some time for introspection and looking at myself and stuff like that. And I've sort of been doing as much as humanly possible to keep the dojo community alive. I've been really lucky in the respect that the dojo, the community that we have, is more like a family, and lots of them are still committed to paying fees. Not everybody, but a few, which has been great because it just meant that I can still survive during that time. So I felt like I owed it to them too to be very active during that time, and keep the community together as much as possible, and to still inspire people to want to be active and train during that time. So I did as much as I can, and I've really enjoyed getting outdoors. And at first it was really difficult and I hated it, the change, but then I become to embrace the change. And
that's strong. That's good.
Yeah. well, you don't really have a choice. Well, you do have a choice.
Yeah, but it's the
You
way
have a
way you
choice.
take it.
Yeah.
I mean, if something changes that you're not very happy about, you can fret about it, and you can make it ruin your life.
Oh, well, I certainly fretted about it, but I just decided that
Do something about
do
it.
something about
Take
it.
action. Yeah, strong. Yeah.
So the training was important for me mentally. It was important that I got out there and trained. I was probably training more than ever. I was training more for myself than I was before the lockdown.
You got some time off as well, right?
Yeah, got some time off,
Hmm.
which was good. Not good and not good, but definitely there were some positives to come out of it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's made me question, my why a lot. And I know that I want the dojo and the family that I have there is really important to me. That's something I want to strive, but there does need to be some changes. Because I was very committed in the fact that everything came second to the dojo. Myself, my own personal health often came second, as well as my kids and time and stuff like that. So there does need to be some changes, but I want the dojo to continue to grow. I want it to become this romantic idea that I had in the beginning, where I got to enjoy it more rather than sometimes I felt like I was forcing myself on the mats some days. I always wanted to be there. I don't want to make it sound like I never wanted to be there, but there's definitely times when I was physically, emotionally exhausted and I still had to walk on the mats and be inspirational and energetic. So I need to find a way to get some more. I hate the phrase work-life balance. I hate it. But I need to find a way to make it more doable for me. The online stuff that I've been doing while lockdown was in place has been really cool. I've really enjoyed it, actually. And the videos have sometimes got, one video got shared to an international page and got 5,000 views. And that for me was really exciting.
Yeah.
And, when you're doing an online video workout and someone from South Africa's logging in to watch you and train with you, it's like so cool.
Yeah.
And there's been opportunities for everybody because so many people have been putting out so much free stuff. And, I did a seminar with the head instructor of our organization in Japan, the big Hanshi there. And that was, that's something that's not possible normally. So definitely be some positives to come out of it. But because I've really enjoyed the online stuff at the moment, well, but I haven't really told anyone else that I'm trying to work on producing an app, a training app.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd love to get into because I've just had such a good response from the online training that I think that's possibly the next step for me. I have another book that I've written as well that's not published yet.
Yeah.
That's a kid's book talking about why martial arts is great for kids.
Which it is, I have to say.
Well, it's great for dealing with bullying, but not because they can learn to fight. That's not it.
I would like to go in on that. Like, we shouldn't keep it for too long.
Mm.
But tell me, your kids do martial arts too. Can you tell me how that has affected their lives?
Well, they've grown up at the dojo, basically, so they're very social.
Yeah.
They're good at communicating with all different people of all different ages and stuff, just because they've grown up in this massive family, of people. And that's great. The martial arts is good because there's so many lessons in there. They learn how to lose. That's so important.
Yeah.
They learn how to lose. Don't ever shelter your children from losing.
Yeah.
Such a huge thing to know that it's okay to lose and still keep going and just get better and use it as a positive thing rather than as a negative thing. They're strong. They're mentally strong. They're also physical. Like they all move really well.
Yeah.
They still complain about training, but they do love it. I know they do.
That's children for you.
Yeah.
Of course. You can't take that away fully.
No, but they're definitely physically capable, and the fact that they're on the mats instead of behind a device or behind a computer every night when we're actively training at the dojo is great. I'm more than happy for them to be able to do that.
And Tyla, your daughter, she's 14 now, isn't she? For most teenage girls, it's weird to fight. It's something you do. How do you feel that her being able to fight has changed her life? Is she different than other classmates, or?
I don't know if she's different from other classmates, but there was an issue early on when she first started high school, with the boys sort of giving her a bit of a hard time.
Yeah.
And he would take the opportunity whenever she went to her locker to hit her in the head with a bag or knock her around a bit. And I told her, well, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And she kind of said, oh, there's not much I can do. I'll get in trouble. I said, just get in trouble.
Yeah.
Just protect yourself. And if you get in trouble, deal with it. But deal with the issue first.
Yeah.
So I said, don't punch him in the face, but whatever else is okay. So she did. She gave him a good old shove back into the locker.
Yeah.
One day.
And he stopped, or did he?
And I think she punched him as well in the guts.
Yeah.
And she'd warned, well, I shouldn't say she just went up to him and belted him.
Yeah.
The next time he did it to her, she said, you need to stop that or I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And he sort of said, well, what are you going to do about it? Type thing. And so she gave him a good old shove into the locker, give him one in the guts. And she said, I don't want to keep doing this, but this is ridiculous. This needs to stop. And eventually they worked it out. So.
But do you think the fact that she didn't right away was the aggressor, that she got that from martial arts? I mean, she had the opportunity, she had the power to hit and kick, but she didn't right away.
She didn't want to. Why
didn't she want to?
I think she thought that she had a responsibility not to.
Yeah.
And she felt like she couldn't, that she shouldn't use her martial arts in that way.
Yeah, but she was able to.
She was able to. And she wasn't crying. She was used to physical confrontation. So I guess she handled the situation a bit better because she was used to physical confrontation.
Yeah.
She wasn't so much afraid, but she was upset that it was happening. And
of course, I mean, you don't want to hit anyone without a good reason.
But she sorted the problem out, so that's good.
Okay. Hey, before we close off this podcast, is there anything you would like to say? Maybe to people listening, especially maybe women listening, of martial arts, or anything you would like to talk about?
I think I talked too much already, but I guess for me, like my